It's now 5 o'clock. I will call the board meeting of the WISD Board of Trustees to order. Please let the record show that we have 5 trustees in attendance tonight, with Mr. Rogers and Mr. McCutcheon being absent. Also, let the record know that this meeting has been duly called and notice of this meeting has been duly posted for time and manner required by law. At this time, the board will enter into closed session according to Section 551.001 et sec of the Texas Government Code. It is now 5 o'clock. 9, the board will reconvene back into open session. The next item on our agenda would be our invocation. That's going to be led by Mrs. Timmerman, followed by our pledges, followed by Mrs. Starnader.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support during this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that affect the students and staff of WISD. Continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the greater glory of you and for the service of our district. We ask you also to be with all those of our school family that may be suffering in any way, and also those that may be grieving. We ask these things in thy name. Amen.
Please stand.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda will be our open forum. My understanding, we didn't have anyone sign up to speak tonight? Okay. Item C would be our HR. Thomas?
Good evening, Board. I would like to ask that you approve the personnel report as recommended by the superintendent.
Are there any questions for Mrs. James on the HR report as it was presented in closed session? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the HR report as presented in closed session.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve the HR report as presented.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
A motion by Ms. Starnader, second by Mr. Schofield. Any other discussion? I'm sorry, Ms. Kriegel. I'm sorry, Ms. Kriegel, seconded by Mr. Schofield. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, next item on our agenda will be our recognitions. Ms. Bridges?
Good evening, Board. This evening, I am very excited to recognize another group of our campus warriors, who are those employees who act according to safety and security protocol when they are put to the test. We may only have one or two here tonight. A lot of them had other obligations, but I do want to say their names and honor them. So, as always, we have a wonderful partner in the Waxahachie Police Department who routinely sends an undercover officer to various campuses. This time, they sent a female officer, but that didn't faze our campuses one bit. So we are proud to recognize the following employees this evening: Jana Bisbee at WHS, Callie Crow and Stacy Fulliger at Finley, Jennifer Wilt at Northside, Darla Wilson at Felty. In addition, there's a front office staff member at Global who doesn't remember the incident. No one has any idea who it was, but they did a great job when that officer came. And then we also have a wonderful milk delivery person at Coleman. The officer tried to get in the back door when the milk delivery was happening, and that delivery man said, "No way." So we are very, very lucky. So I don't know if anyone was able to make it tonight, but they can watch the replay, and let's go ahead and give them a round of applause. Also this evening, we are excited to recognize our wonderful Human Resources Department. If you ladies want to go ahead and come on up. Governor Greg Abbott declared October 9th to be Texas Education Human Resources Day in order to honor the significant contributions of our HR professionals. They make so many contributions to the district and a huge impact on our students. Yeah, y'all. I would like to read Governor Abbott's resolution. In Texas, we place immense value on our youth, for they are the future of our state and nation. In order for them to fulfill their potential, we must ensure that each and every young Texan receives a challenging, well-rounded education. Every day, human resources professionals across Texas greatly contribute to ensuring students receive the highest quality of education possible. There is no limit to what students can accomplish when they are immersed in an educational environment that is rich in achievement and composed of skilled teachers and school staff. Human resources professionals help create these fundamental surroundings for students by executing effective practices for hiring high-quality staff and providing other various and much-needed services to students, teachers, and administrators. At this time, I encourage all Texans to join in celebrating the many contributions of human resources professionals and to learn more about how they support our educational system by continually evolving their strategies for success and taking on new challenges. Thank you, ladies, for everything you do. And we also have a certificate for each of you. So easy. Thank y'all. Thank you, board.
Okay, next item on our agenda, we're moving into our board workshop. Item A will be updating on rezoning process.
Yes, sir. Mr. Calden has done an excellent job of laying out the timeline, and unless there's questions, or unless you just want to talk to me.
Mr. Craig, you have our project manager report?
Oh, he's got samples too. Watch out. We may be building something here.
We have show and tell, that's right. Thank you. All right, we are doing well. I think last Friday was the first day that we had missed due to weather since June. Are we blessed or what?
We are.
We surely are. What do I push here?
It was time for you to miss once the grass.
I'll just do this.
It's been his fault.
Thanks, Stephen.
He's been out praying here.
We have, at Max Simpson Elementary School, we have almost all of the concrete placed for the building itself. We had one little leave out, I'll show you in just a minute, so that we can get into the courtyard. But otherwise, all but the back driveway is done. So we're seeing the end now on concrete, and I am very happy for that. Still is up over the cafeteria and the kitchen, and now it's mostly up over area D. You see these two guys up here, they're hanging. These guys are amazing. Walk that steel, and they have it down. And in fact, this picture is already a little outdated. There's already bar joists up in this area as well. I took these pictures this morning. As you can see, they're laying track in that left picture, and the track is the bottom of a wall. That's an exterior wall adjacent to the courtyard and in front of the cafeteria. That's a corridor area that's going down through there. And in the right picture, you see the leave out, about 20 feet of concrete we left out on purpose so that we can get trucks and heavy equipment into the courtyard to get the all of those items done. And I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the prints, but in the concrete, we're going to have little tracks. In one part of it, we'll have like animal tracks that the kids can identify. I mean, and so I've got my brother, who was a state trapper, working on this, and he's going to come up with native animals to do this. I don't mean that he's going to go cut their feet off or anything like that, but he's going to work on that. He is pretty excited to get to do that. This is a bird's eye view. Buford Thompson Construction Company took this for us, looking straight down. And tonight you'll be talking about the easement for the electrical service, and that will be if you looked at the very top, from about the center, you see that little white speck there. Back to the left is where you're going to be putting that easement. That's also where the temporary road's going to go in. And then if you'll see, it's kind of hard to pick up. Look at the crane tower, the crane boom there, and then you can see the Waxahachie flag, and then the flag that they have to fly on top of every crane after it gets so high. So our flag is proudly flying over Simpson. Then at the Agri-Science, I brought these samples. This is what's going on with the walls. You can see how these go together like so. And they're not being copied. I think those would make really good airplane wings. I really do. So we're making great progress. This is in the picture on the left, this is the cattle building. And then in the picture on the right, you see another, this is from the cattle building is there on the left. And then on the right is the swine building. And even after that picture was taken this morning, I mean, they're going so quickly. We've already got sides on mostly all of the swine building has already got the walls up now as well. These guys have got this down to a science. They can put those panels up just as quickly as that guy can get there with it. They get it up.
But is this the first time this crew's used them? So
this particular type panel, it is.
So the first panels didn't go up so quick.
There was a learning curve. There definitely was a learning curve. And these are the roof panels. Those little pieces that you have there are approximately 2 inches thick. So that's about an R14. The roof panels are double that. So we're looking at an R28, R30, somewhere in that neighborhood, which is typically what we're going to build a house now. And those are the energy codes that we have to meet. So we are going to have some very comfortable animals in our buildings. We surely will. And this shows how it laps. And we've been waiting on a special machine that has 4 suction cups that will be swung up on these roof panels to be set with a crane. And we're still waiting on that machine to get here. It was supposed to have been here today. It did not make it. And that's it. We're doing great. Any questions for me?
So when do you think it will be that the roof will be up on each one, that we don't have to worry about weather anymore?
On the agri-science?
Both of them?
At Max Simpson, all of the roofs should get on probably mid-December, all of it. I mean, they could work right now. The decks, the sub-deck is up over the cafeteria and the kitchen now. They were working when I left. And agri-science, probably within a month.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good.
It appears the access road that's coming in off of North Grove, but they're making pretty good progress with that utility-wise, and they still
They are
on schedule.
I think they ran into some rock I don't think that they knew was as hard as it is. That they are really struggling to get through that rock, and but they're making great progress. Their timeline was December the 6th that they would be completely done with those 2 roads, but I think they're going to beat that.
Okay.
I think they'll beat that by about 3 weeks, from what I can tell, which is good for us.
Absolutely.
And since we will be moving to the new Agri-Science Center as soon as it's finished, not unlike Max Simpson, which will be next year.
Right.
As soon as you know, whenever we have a drop-dead date that it can't delay because of rain, if you would let Ms. Bridges know, we can start planning so we can have a grand opening before we start moving critters over there.
I'll surely do it. Okay, thank
Any
you.
other question, Mr. Craig? Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, next item is our Human Resources Audit Corrective Action Plan. Ms. James?
Okay, we pretty much went over what TASB had presented for us for last year and some of the challenges that they saw with the HR department, and pretty much answered each one of those areas in which they had concerns, the focus areas that they had concerns in. And we've moved forward with quite a bit of the action plan, and have answered most of the questions and addressed some of the concerns that they had. Most of the things we're moving along should be completed around April, May. Then we have some ongoing projects that we'll have to continue as well. So.
Good job.
Questions for Ms. James?
I just have a quick question. If someone was to apply online, sorry. If someone was to apply online for a position with the school district, what would happen? Like, would they receive an email? Like what's the, just,
Certificate
like,
of
take us through just that
If they
process.
apply online, we have a process where if you're going to be interviewed, you'll be notified to interview.
Yeah, okay.
Usually, once a position is filled, there's a notice for a person that noticed that this position has been filled. So it goes to that mass group that actually have applied for that position. So that notice will go to them from that perspective. Everyone's not always interviewed, so
Right,
their
yeah.
applications are there and they're active until it comes to that point where we've interviewed for the position, the position's been filled. Everything is electronic now, so there's an automatic email that goes out that says this position is now
Okay.
closed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. James? Okay, next item will be our high school of choice guidelines for 2019-2020. You, Dr. Kane?
I think Dr. Averett.
Should have a copy of this in your packet. We met together, myself, Mr. Morgan, Dr. Binskin, and Mrs. Harris, together to revamp our high school of choice guidelines. You can see there's 6 items there. First off, they got to complete the application. We have a new application process. It's an online Google form they can fill out. Question today, of course, from one of the counselors is how do they get their parent signature? They get their parent signature when they have their intake meeting, or their, I guess they call it orientation meeting at high school of choice. We still have the 3 out of 5 end of course exam requirement. That is primarily because a student that doesn't have at least 3 out of 5 end of course tests passed, they're not eligible for a Senate Bill 149 personal graduation committee meeting. Yes, ma'am.
My question is, so do they have to wait until the end of their junior year? Because that's when they take the U.S. history and the 96%,
No, they've had opportunity to take 4 other ones before then.
Right, I know. So do they have to have 3 of the 4 pass?
They need to have 3 out of those 5 pass, yes. So that would be 3 out of the 4 if it's at the end of their junior year, yes.
But it says preference.
For the end of course exam, yes. And as a former high school principal who had to deal with this situation, I can tell you, it's my experience, if we don't get there, we don't get them across, at least.
I understand, sir. My question, I guess, is, the 2 things they fail at, they either fail English 1 and English 2.
Yep, those are the
And
tough ones.
sometimes they fail math also. But U.S. history is their easiest test,
Mm-hmm.
so you can kind of assume they're going to, if they pass biology or one of the others, that they're going to pass the U.S. history. So do they have to wait until after they pass the U.S. history in order to be admitted?
No,
just-
they
it
have
just
4
says
other tests
preference,
they can take before that.
Is that correct? Preference, that means if you're limited on space, you're going to get preference closer to meeting graduation.
Yes. But to Mrs. Kriegel's question about the end of course requirement, there are 4 tests they can take before their junior year.
Yes.
English 1, 2, Algebra 1, Biology.
Yes.
Algebra 1 has a passing rate, the passing score is about 40%. Same thing for Biology, is around 40%. Those 2 are to pass the test, to make an approaches score. Okay? English 1 and 2, yes, they are the tougher test, but they also have multiple opportunities to take that test before then. So no, there's not a requirement that they wait till the end of their junior year for admittance to high school of choice. It could end up to be that way, but not necessarily. The other one, obviously, the ones we want students that are close to, juniors or seniors are going to be the preference. If you have stuff going on in their lives, sometimes job issues, family issues, maybe they become a parent. We want to get those kids that are close. However, if they have fewer than 12 credits, and that's 12 credits is what to classify you as a junior, there's nothing that says they can't be admitted. That's why we have a committee. And students must have they need to have a verified need, not just I want to get out of school early.
Do we offer remediation at high school of choice right now?
Yes.
We will be
Yes,
offering.
and we also have the Apex program, which we purchased a district license, grades 6 through 12, has end of course remediation things built into it. It also has TSI prep. It also has ACT, SAT prep built into it. And every student actually in our district has access to that.
Okay, my only other question is, will the students be able to have transportation?
Good question, and that's something I need to get back on. I don't have an answer for you that. But I think as Dr. Kane mentioned earlier, we don't need to make transportation an issue for some situation like this. But that's something I need to get a follow-up for you. I don't have the answer right now. You bet. Any other questions?
I just have a comment. I will say that these guidelines seem to be a lot more inclusive than the old ones.
Yes, sir.
And that's very much appreciated because high school of choice should be inclusive, not exclusive. And I want to thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments, Ms. Timmerman?
I wanted to say also, to back up what Dusty just said, I read the old ones. I didn't agree with them because there's things about attendance in there and discipline and all that. And it seemed to exclude a lot of kids that need the high school of choice. But I really like these guidelines and I like the way they're stated because it doesn't automatically kick out a kid just because they don't have the 12 credits, preference or may. So I really like it, and I thank your committee for what they did.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that.
Also, let us know if you need more room. We'd rather find you a place to put more kids and turn them away.
Our night school, we kind of took that last year because we've got the facility, we've got, like you said, certain.
Right.
At night, we would need a security guy, teachers, different teachers, and, not different teachers, but
I think that is something that, as a district, we mentioned several times tonight, at our size, I think we're getting to the point at our size that that's not something that should be a fairy tale for us. It should be something that could be a reality for us.
that's a big, big practice, because we have a lot of aspiring administrators who would like to have a shot at showing us.
That they can lead a campus. Sure. We do allow, some night opportunities for credit recovery at the high school. And we do also, something that's not in this, is that Ms. Harris does have a full scheduled credit recovery going on her campus. She mentioned that a little bit when she talked about our efforts to go and hit the bricks and get kids back to school. So we have that going as well. But yes.
I think if Ms. Cotton would be able, once we get it off the ground, when we don't have to wait for school for a semester or anything, just whenever you say go, the board would, in fact, we may want to bring back a couple of the personnel. I don't think it'd be new hires, it would just be a supplemental pay.
Probably.
But I think if Ms. Cotton could start, if we could add to your little thing, we have night school, or we have, tell us your problem and let us help you get a diploma.
Currently, I have 6 sections of credit recovery at the high school, and I have 20 to 25 kids in every section, and I have 2 staff members monitoring that classroom. Those kids are taking credit, they've lost credit for one reason or another, and they're in that credit recovery lab recovering those credits on Apex. Those are kids that for whatever reason cannot or have not transitioned to school of choice. So we're meeting those needs in that respect. In addition to that, those students are also able to come to night school or to night tutoring. We have night tutoring on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. They're also able to come and work at that time. And then we have Saturday school now that's for 4 hours every Saturday, 8 to noon. And they're able to come during that time as well and work.
Well, if you're that full, it sounds like we need it at high school of choice as well. And if you had anybody spilling over, it wouldn't be high school of choice, but we could have a night school there and try to be as accommodating as possible, including, I've had them kind of designated as a daycare that I think if they're have a baby a year or younger, we would just need an aide. And it's amazing, but now the baby stays with them as long as they're quiet, but it's amazing how many kids, if we can get those, just any roadblock out of the way, how many kids we could help move along to a more secure life.
I do think a night school program would be very beneficial. We do have some students that are having to work to support their families, and that is one of the issues that we've been running into is, they got to work during the day, and so
Well, I think
that night program.
I think what you just heard from the board is if it's not happening, it's because they haven't approved it. It's because they're waiting for Dr. Averett to bring them the plan.
We will start preparing that.
We'll get you a plan.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next item on our agenda is a public hearing. At this time, I will open the public hearing to conduct a public hearing on the annual financial integrity rating system of Texas, first rating and report from TEA. Mr. Calden?
Thanks, sir. As we get going in this public hearing, board, you have all the information in your packet starting page 93. any members of the public that are here, we do have copies of the report that are available on the front table if you would like your own report to look at, or you're welcome to follow along with us. Do you have it pulled up on the PowerPoint, or is it over here? Thanks. All right, the first rating is always 1 year behind. So our rating for this year is based off of last year's financial information. So as we go through, that's going to be one of the fun things that's always, that you need to keep in the back of your mind is this is always a year's financial information old, but it is this year's rating. This is codified in the Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 19, and it has 15 indicators this year. I have a little asterisk there because there's really only 14, but we'll get into that in just a minute. The rankings are superior, above standard, meet standard, and substandard achievement, the same rankings that were there last year. Preliminary ratings were released at the beginning of August. If you do not appeal within 31 days, then your rankings are final. We did not file an appeal, and so our rankings are technically final. We expect TEA to come out with the official final rankings or ratings at the end of this month. And then we are required by law to hold a public hearing within 2 months of the release of the final school ratings. Because we did not appeal, we're within that 2-month window at this point. We have a copy of the report for distribution. And then the only other item that's included is we have to have a copy of the superintendent's contract. If it is not published on the district website, ours is. So it is not included in the report information in front of you. The first 4 indicators that are in this are pass-fail. Essentially, they are, did you submit your audit on time? Did you have any material weaknesses, which would be a negative. If you did, you would fail that one. Are you current on your payments to the state, to the IRS, and to other vendors? And then are there any material weaknesses within your audit report? So these are all pass-fail. You cannot get a pass rating on your first report if you fail any of the first 4. Proud to say we turned our audit in on time. We did not have our opinion was not modified. It was an unmodified opinion, which is clean. We did not have any instances of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. We did not have any instances of noncompliance with the debt agreements, and we were not behind on any payments to TRS, the Texas Workforce Commission, IRS, or any other governmental agencies. Indicator 5, I had 15 with the asterisk. This is the asterisk. Indicator 5 really didn't exist. It was inactive for the 17-18, 18-19, and 19-20 fiscal years. All TEA really did was skip it. So we have indicators 1 through 4, and then 6 through 15. Indicator 6, it is a measure of solvency. How much cash do you have on hand to cover operating expenditures? At the end of the year, the district had 134 days worth of cash, so a little bit more than 3 months worth of expenditures in cash at the end of the fiscal year. Anything over 90 gets you 10 points. That would be 4 months. All right. Measure of current assets, current liabilities, indicator number 7. This is the only spot in this year that we lost any points out of a possible 100 points. We have about 2.5 times current assets over current liabilities. The state threshold for full maximum points is 3. We're working our way to get back up there, but as of the end of the 2018 fiscal year, we were at 2.465. So just in that 6-point range, a little bit under 2.5 times. Indicator 8, ratio of long-term liabilities, total assets. There is a caveat on this one. We have amazing growth, and so our growth is well over 7%. We're closer to 9% or 9.07. And so we get an automatic pass on this, but if we had stagnant growth or less than 7% growth over a 5-year period, we would have lost some points on this as well. We would have been in that 4-point radius. So just a general idea of where we would have been. State recognizes, though, that your financials are going to look pretty bad long-term wise if you're a district of growth, and so they do have a caveat provision in there if you have significant growth over a 5-year period. Indicator 9, our revenues outpaced our expenditures, so we received all 10 points for that. Also, if they did not, we had more than 60 days of cash on hand, So we had the fail-safe on that one. Debt service coverage ratio, our coverage ratio was 1.3, meaning there's about 1 1/3 revenues and fund balance available to pay outstanding debt. The ratio is 1 1/5, so we were able to get full points on that. Indicator 11, this is the administrative cost ratio. We are currently at 8.08, and for our enrollment size, anything less than 10, anything less than a 0.10 will get you the full 10 points. When we go to the 10,000, there's another point earning category. When our total enrollment goes over 10,000, we'll be at 0.855, 0.0855 will be our new indicator. So you can see we're still well below that as we go forward. Did we have a 15% decline in the student staff ratio? We did not. We had a 0.02% decrease in the student staff ratio, which from a funding standpoint is great. It means we got a little bit more proficient with our classes. We had classes a little bit more full than they were the previous year. From an instruction standpoint, it's not so great. Number 13, we did not have, so at the end of the fiscal year, you guys get the audit report and we submit a data file to TEA that's supposed to match the audit report. This indicator, what it's asking is, did the information that we reported to TEA in the data file, did it agree to what you had in the audit report? So I will tell you right now, we had a $78 difference out of $78+ million. I attribute all that to rounding. Take your pick on whether that's acceptable or not, but the variance tolerance on this is 3%, so we were right at a 0%, so our information matched, which just shows that we have good record keeping and we actually make our audit adjustments. External audit was free of any instances of material weaknesses. Again, this is one of those pass fails at the very beginning, so if you fail it up there, you're going to fail it back here. Ours was free of material weaknesses and issues of non-compliance, and so we did get the 10 points on this. Indicator 15, we do not have an adjusted repayment schedule. Again, this goes back to the solvency of the district. We did not have a adjusted repayment schedule, so we got the full points. Summary, because I know this is what you're really wanting, is the summary on this. We complied with all 5 yes/no requirements. We did achieve 10 points. Oops, missed one. We achieved 10 points in 9 of the 10 categories. We earned a 96 this year out of a possible 100 points. So a superior rating, we have received a superior achievement in every first report that has been done, which is going to be 15 or 16 years now. And then also in your packet, there's a required management report. You will see in the management report, again, a reminder, this is year-old information that you are looking at, so it's not exactly going to agree to anything that you necessarily remember doing. Board member expenditures are listed in here. All of those are well within reason. They're all fairly similar to each other. I noticed there was a question a minute ago about outside compensation or fees received by former superintendent. When we do this, I send out a confirmation to the superintendent to get them to fill this in because I don't want to guess on this. What essentially was happening is our former superintendent was taking days off, which he was well within his right to burn his days here. He would go to Granbury and get a little bit of work in there, and they decided as part of his compensation plan to go ahead and compensate him for those days as an independent contractor. So that's where the revenue from him is coming in on that. We're required to report it, so we reported it to you. It's also my understanding there were no gifts accepted by any of the board members or the superintendent during that period, and that was the last bit of information required to be reported in the management report.
Any questions for Mr. Call? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and speak during this public hearing? Once? Twice? Okay. We'll close the public hearing. Thank you very much, Mr. Call.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, next item is our consent agenda. Board members, we have items A through F. As you know, we can take them all in one motion. We can remove one or specific one if there's one you guys would like to discuss, or we can consider them as each individual motions, whichever you would like to do.
Need a motion? Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items A through F as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
A motion by Ms. Starnader, a second by Mr. Schofield. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Number 8A, consideration to approve the district and campus improvement plan. Under our action items for tonight.
Yes, sir. This is an annual project that we have. It kind of serves as our roadmap for our instructional program. It is a living document. We have campus improvement plans and then the larger umbrella of the district improvement plan. The three executive directors, thank you. The three executive directors worked closely with the campuses and with one another to make certain that we can maximize our instructional time and meet the goals. Everything's obviously based on the goals the board set for us instructionally. And unless there are any questions, the campus ones are so thick that we just made the link to it rather than include it. But those are fair game for you to ask questions of also. Just that Mr. Robinson will quickly pull them up for us so we can see them.
Okay, this list is listed as an action item. You have something, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
On this first one,
What page?
let's see, 211.
211.
It's that same thing with the 30 students. Middle school classrooms will maintain below 30. Is it supposed to be 28 or is it 30?
We can do it several ways. I mean, if the board has a hard number of 30 that says any one day over a core class, that we need to be clarified for that. If it is, did we pick the 30 number because it was our understanding? Okay, that was the number as opposed to 28.
I can tell you where the 30 came from.
Where?
30 came from last year when we started school at Coleman Junior. I had 35, 40 kids in the class.
Okay, so,
And even before that, we told the administration, because based on the staffing we were looking at, don't bring us classes with 30-plus kids.
okay, and so I think the number, we can easily change it to 28. We just did not think that we didn't want to speak for the board if that was not.
I think what it was we were so far above 30.
We were
that
way above it. We were up to
way
close to
above 30
40 in
that we
some
said,
classes.
let's get to 30. And then once we get to 30, if we need to reevaluate, but 30 was a start.
So,
I
right, so
understood we were supposed to move to 28 this year, was my understanding.
for
For
1920.
class sizes.
1920.
Yeah.
So, yes, we just need the word. If you say it is 28, then we can change it on the dot. You would say motion to approve with the noted changes. This is the only change. It would be that change, but if there's others. So, yes, 28 would be, that's the number, that's the number.
My only concern is, like I said, hiring people in the middle of the year, though. If we go to something like that, my only concern is trying to hire people in the middle of the year. If we get, like, we got to that number, we're not going to do that, right?
Well, what we would like to know, I mean, obviously, if you're in a large junior high and you've got one social studies class with one over, you wouldn't want to hire someone and then totally. So I think if we could say, we will start the year whenever possible, because that would be the goal of the principals and the executive directors as well. But that there is kind of a rule of thumb that as the numbers grow, there would be a test of reasonableness on, are we ready to add add a teacher or a half a teacher, or maybe if we could add a class. Yeah.
Readjust it to semester?
Right. That we could check at semester, okay. What if we said at semester and at the first of the year? Because semester would be a good,
You just can't hire good people in the middle of the year,
Right.
though. 9 times out of 10.
okay? So if you make the motion, would you say as amended to 28
Oh, okay.
at the beginning of each semester? With our intent would be to keep it at 28 because we're your cheerleader for that. It's just that we want to make certain that it doesn't get too messy.
I got got some other questions.
And that's on 211.
I don't know. If I go through everything that I marked in here, we're going to be here for a long time. So I asked Mr. Abbott before the meeting, could you come up and so I can ask you again?
No problem.
Okay, as I went through here, there were several of them I put, what's the status, what's the status, what's the status? And so I asked Mr. Abbott before the meeting, I said, okay, when did this plan start? And when is it, I know it says November here. So I said, can I ask what the status is, or is it too soon?
So we have set up, and Plan for Learning kind of gives us the breakout of the year, each kind of quarter, when we should do formative reviews of our plan. The first formative review is in November 21st. So the system that we have, that we put in place is that each executive director or director over a certain area, we have November 21st is set. We have 30-minute appointments with Ms. Mott. We're going to go into her conference room. We're going to look at the areas that pertain to us, and we'll provide feedback and review of where we are on the status of that. So Plan for Learning provides a way for us to, during the formative reviews part of it, to gauge our completion rate. You know, no progress, 0, 50%. We got it halfway done to we've completed it. For example, there's some things in here like that I already know we've already done it. For getting Apex, for example. Apex is a strategy in our DIP. We've already completed that. So in the formative review in November, we will be able to put that strategy has been completed and that we've signed the contract, blah, 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 all those things have happened. So in November, January, March, and then June, when we do our formative assessments, how we did on our plan. And I know you know this as a former principal, but other people may not. District improvement plans, campus improvement plans are what we refer to as living, breathing documents. So as we encounter things throughout the year, there may be an opportunity for us to add a strategy for something that we see that's either not working, or we may see a strategy that may not be relevant anymore. We may need to remove that or give that feedback as no progress, and this is why in our assessment. So,
Okay.
is that okay?
Yes.
Any other questions?
It takes out a whole lot of my questions.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We will have by the December board meeting, we will have conducted our November formative assessment, and we'll be able to provide you with the status on where we are on those actions.
Or we could do it like we do the other reports to the board and just send it like we do the
Exactly.
energy
Yes, we will send
report
it.
and school dude. So what we will do is we'll put it on our report. The reports y'all get are actually on a list, so we make certain that we send those out, and we will put 4 reports for DEIC on that, and then we can just electronically send that to the board. And then every 4 weeks, every quarter, you will be updated.
Okay. That'd be good.
Okay, remember.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I will enter, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just a couple. On page 229, revise the transition process intended to assist students when they're moving from school to school to make sure their IEP is being covered and all that. But I didn't see in here where kids moving into the district, because I know sometimes when kids move in, they kind of fall through the cracks for a while. So what do we have in place to make sure that doesn't happen?
Mr. Thomas?
I can speak to students with IEPs.
In case you've not met Ms. Thomas, she's our special ed director.
I haven't.
Okay, well, Ms. Timmerman, Ms. Thomas.
Good evening, Board. I can specifically speak to the transition process that happens, or transfer process that happens for students with IEPs moving into the district. We don't tend to miss very many. We have a pretty good system for because we have, the state of Texas has a requirement that when those records are sent through TREX, they automatically notify us if a student was on a special list, student with an IEP, student with a 504 plan, something like that. So we tend to get those records pretty quickly and identify those students.
Is the same go for dyslexic students?
Yes, ma'am. Because now the state's counting the students with dyslexia, whereas before they were not in the system, the way they earn PEMS. But now the state does keep that data, so we are able to do the same thing.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. This is probably another question for you, sorry. On page 231, you know, we got the tiers, the 1, 2, 3. Where does that fit in if you've got a student that is a safety concern, but they haven't gone through all the tiers yet? Is there anything in place to kind of zoom them up a little bit, or?
I think that's, can you show me the specific page? I don't know what the action item is, because if it's RTI, I think Dr. Holt might be able to help me with that.
Yeah, it's
I don't know what the action item is that she's referring to.
You're referring to behaviors? I'm referring to when kids are on tiers and you have a student in the classroom that's a safety concern, but they haven't, maybe they're on tier 2, they haven't gone through everything yet. I was wondering if there's anything in place as a safety net with those kids to kind of move them up to the front of the list for something to be done.
And I think traditionally it's been understood that RTI is like you have tier 1 and then you move to tier 2.
Yes.
And you move to tier 3. And truly RTI is a fluid system. So you can actually be in tier 1 and you can have issues with behavior and or academics, attendance, and you could shoot right up to tier 3 if those are the intensive supports that you need. So there's fluidity within that system, in and out of that system. So we would deal with the student at the level that they need to be dealt with with supports.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And I could add to that, if at any time there's a suspected disability of a student, then there's no requirement that they have to be in any tier to be referred for an evaluation. They can, the school should, if they suspect that, go ahead and make that referral so that we
But,
can
you know,
step.
sometimes it takes so long to get them tested. I just wondered if there was something in place to, if you have a student like that that's waiting to be tested, if there's a whole lot of kids on the list, if there's a safety concern, zooming them up so they can get tested.
We would definitely look at that individually with our RTI plans.
Okay.
Ensure those supports. We have PDIS, we have restorative practice, we have multiple things that we can address.
Okay, thank you. I just have one other thing if I can find it.
Go ahead.
Uh, 245. These would all deal with PR.
Jenny? Jenny?
And maybe Mr. Abbott, excuse me, already told me the answer to this, but on all these here that deal with PR, I just wondered, create an internal newsletter to keep all employees informed on a regular basis. I mean, where is that?
So that was actually something that was a recommendation from our communication audit. It is, you will be getting an update on where we are with our communication audit recommendations at the next board meeting. But we have that newsletter slated to begin working on it after the first of the year.
And that emergency guide for parents and visitors that I asked about like I still can't find that. Where is
Okay, it's on the website. I'll send you the link. It's under the security department tab.
Okay.
So
okay, if you would do that.
I'll be glad to. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay.
Okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the district and campus improvement plans with recommended changes.
They're shaking their head. They got all the recommended changes.
Yes.
I
make
move
a
that we,
motion.
I move that we approve the,
Been moved by Mr. Schofield. Is there a second?
Yes, a second.
Second by Ms. Timmerman. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item B, consideration of possible action to nominate directors of the Ellis County Appraisal District Board of Directors.
Mr. President, we will just be nominating next month. We will have a list of nominees. It will be more than 5 for us to decide how we will be voting. But this is just a nomination. And my understanding is this gentleman has been our person for quite some time in this service.
So at this time, it's recommended that Joe Pitts would be our nominee for candidate for the Ellis County Appraisal District Board of Directors. That was the question.
I move that we nominate Joe Pitts to the appraisal review board.
Motion by Mr. Schofield. Second by Ms. Starnader. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, last item on our agenda tonight will be item number 9. Item number 9 on our agenda is a level 3 parent grievance. At this time, I believe the grievance have requested this matter be heard in open session. However, because this matter concerns student information concerning students other than the grievance students, as well as complaints against district employees who have not requested that the complaints against them be heard in open session, the board will hear this matter in closed session pursuant to section 551.074 and 551.0821 of the Texas Government Code. So at this time, we will now proceed to hear our grievance. So if you are not a party that is involved in this grievance, I will have to ask each and every one of you to leave the boardroom, please.
Mr. President, you would give us a few minutes to set up the table.
Absolutely. How about we do 10 minutes, or 9 minutes, is that enough? We'll reconvene at 7:30.
9 minutes for work. And Ms. McLean can sit here.